Hey, Ken here from the Retro Toy Escapades channel in Malaysia. There's a lot of stuff that's flowing out of SDCC 2022. My Instagram account has been blown up with images all over the last 24 hours. There's a lot of MOTU items coming in. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the reveals that we saw for Masterverse stuff that's coming up maybe this year or next year, I'm not sure. But some of this stuff is already up on pre-order. In fact, they showed us the visuals from SDCC and it's already up for pre-order like a couple of hours later. So yeah, I'm gonna be sharing my thoughts. I'll try to keep this video to the minimum, maybe like under an hour, so that way if you guys tune out, at least you'll stay for maybe about the first 50 minutes. I know you guys are kind of busy out there. Now, a lot of us can't be at SDCC, myself definitely included, being all the way out here in Malaysia. But then we have incredible sites out there that are bringing us the coverage, such as Toy News Eye. Please do check out their website. It's incredible. Jay Cochran and the Toy News Eye team are doing incredible work with the site. Lots of coverage. In fact, I checked out their site and I found stuff that I didn't even know was supposed to be there. This is very in-depth coverage. Do a shout out. And thanks for tuning in. Also, just to plug my YouTube memberships here on the channel, it really helps out the channel if you guys sign up as a member for a very low joining fee of $2.99. I'm going to be working to give you exclusive content for members only. In fact, I'm trying to work out a schedule where there's at least one video that goes out per week just for members. So I hope to have your support on that. Let's check out the images here. First up here, we've got the high flyer in the skies, Stratos. Now this is probably a really beefed up looking Stratos figure. I mean, just look at this photo. It's like they gave him Schwarzenegger-like proportions. Now, I've never made it a secret that I'm not a fan of Stratos. I've never been a fan of the character. I mean, I know he can fly and stuff like that. That's supposed to be impressive, but this is something about the character. It just never really appealed to me. I think it's kind of boring, but he does have a lot of fans out there. The naked mini comic version of Stratos that came out in Origins made my list. The number one worst Masters of the Universe figure of last year. Go check out that video. But this version of him actually looks impressive, I gotta say honestly. He's got this thing on his face there that looks like a beak addition, okay, like an additional beak to cover his face, okay. Kind of like from a distance, I kind of thought that it looked like Beskar armor on the Mandalorian. Right, he looks armored up, definitely, for sure. I like this look actually because it actually makes him look a little bit more interesting. I suppose that you can also remove all these parts to make two versions of the figure, and you could also have the traditional Stratos look. And I suppose that that's one of the great things about the new Eternal figures, is that they give you the option, all right, to switch between concept and traditional look. And the thing about new Eternal is I just wonder, do all these concepts originate from the 80s? Were they originally already there from the 1980s, or are some of these just drummed up by the current designers at Mattel? I'm not really sure. But then he does come with the staff, the emerald staff of Avion. I guess that's what he's holding there in his hands. And it's interesting that he finally gets this accessory. I think that customizers have been doing this up for the more 5-inch scale figures. The fact of the matter is that I always wish that his Origins figure actually came with accessories. He just had those strap-on wings, something like a staff or something for him to hold, like a sword. It would have made the figure look a lot more interesting. This figure actually, I would have to probably consider maybe getting him, and then probably this could be the one Stratos figure that I actually do appreciate. Right? He does look good. Shadow Weaver, definitely a fan favorite. And you know what, first impressions, looking at this thing, I just gotta wonder, is it just me, or did the sculptors kind of like go out of the way to make her look really well endowed? Okay, because she looks like, kind of reminds me of Salma Hayek. Salma Hayek from Desperado 1995 is definitely giving me that vibe. But you know what? The Evil Horde is great that Masterverse is going deep into this, into the whole Evil Horde theme. And let's not forget, they've also promised us the deluxe looking Hordak figure. We've got Catra on her way in as well. And then also we've got the deluxe She-Ra figure. So it's like Princess of Power and the Evil Horde. It's great that we're getting a lot of standout characters from these two subdivisions, and so far from everything that we've seen, the figures look incredible. Yeah, the figures look great. Shadow Weaver is definitely one of them. I'll probably have to really seriously consider picking her up as well if I want to complete this Masterverse scale Evil Horde team. And next up, we've got the most clean-cut looking representation of He-Man ever, the new Adventures of He-Man. Now this is the He-Man that's meant for the new kids on the block generation. Yeah, he's hanging tough. In fact, Yo, check this. Both of them popped out around the same time, 1989 to 1990. That's when both New Adventures of He-Man and the New Kids on the Block both turned up. So anyway, this guy, look, I'm an old school fan of the character. I grew up in the 80s, dude. So, I knew what the chatter was back then. So no matter how many people tell you right now that, hey, this character's amazing, look, screw that. Okay, back then, nobody would even give this guy a second look. Okay. It's like a guy that nobody wanted to date until he made $1 million, something like that. So look, this guy is predominantly hated, but then actually, to be honest with you, the action figures that they were putting out back then, the action figures that came out from Mattel, they were really well designed. All right, I'm not a fan of this He-Man design, definitely. I think there's stuff about him that looks good. He's like a mixture. It kind of reminds me of Captain Power, Captain Power, not Captain Planet. Yeah, Captain Power. All right, he's got that sci-fi look. It's like He-Man in space. He-Man meets Star Wars. So anyway, this version of He-Man is definitely not for everyone. I can understand that. I've actually grown to appreciate the property, this subdivision of the main franchise. I've grown to appreciate it over the years. The cartoon, in fact, was actually really underrated. The animation was fantastic. Okay, you just go on YouTube right now, just check out the opening intro. The animation was great. Some of the stories were really matured too as well. It's just that it was just coming out during that time that nobody is paying attention. Okay, the 80s were just wrapping up. Nobody cared about this. But right now, looking back, there is stuff here that we can appreciate, and a lot of fans, I'm sure, are probably gonna be willing to give him a second chance now, unlike back then. Right now, the Masterverse figure that they put up here actually looks very nice. For what it is, he's like a space gladiator. Right, he's got all the accessories that the vintage figure came with. But I'll tell you one thing, that power sword, actually, to be honest with you, I kind of always did like the power sword design. Maybe not even the character, but the power sword was pretty awesome. It's kind of like a lightsaber. Maybe that's what the influence was. But I think back in the day, there was definitely a power sword prop accessory toy from Mattel. And that thing was like kind of like a sellout, because it's that you couldn't get light up lightsabers back then like you could today. So that thing was just awesome. Right? Anyway, this figure is up for pre-order on Target, which just went up like a couple of hours ago. So I suppose you can head there right now and get this thing locked in. And then we've got this close-up shot here of the Revelation Evelyn. All right, this is Evelyn in her super-powered universe-destroying mode. This is Evelyn jacked up on steroids with the entire power of the cosmos flowing through her. Now I have to tell you, the character of Evelyn in Revelation was easily the best thing for me. If it wasn't because of her being in the show and the way they wrote her character and the way that they flowed out her character arc, I would have tuned out probably sometime in. But as it is, she steals the show. She saves the show. If you guys haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend that you do. That being said, all that glowing praise aside, I'm not a fan of this figure, okay? Alright, I like what they did with her with the show, but I don't need her jacked up representation as an action figure. I won't be getting this for myself. But I do know that probably there are a lot of fans out there that probably need this version of the figure in their collection. So this should probably be a dream come true for you. But however, I feel that this thing is like in the same category as the Skelly God figure. Man, do I ever regret getting that figure. Okay. I mean, at the time, it was like, whoa, Ultimate Skeletor. But then, I've not even picked that figure up. In fact, the figure can't even stand, okay, to be honest with you, right? It's like too freaking top heavy. I've got it up and it keeps falling down. You know what? Just screw that. And we also get our first look at the Masterverse, Rulers of the Sun, Pighead. Now, Rulers of the Sun was a line that most of us only found out about a couple of months ago, but it does have its roots in the 80s, sort of like a He-Man ripoff kind of thing. And now Mattel has fully incorporated it into the Masters of the Universe series, all right, not just in Origins but also Masterverse, as you can see here, and probably even a couple more lines down the road. We're going to have inclusions in maybe things like the Eterna minis. Maybe Mega Bricks is going to do a Rulers of the Sun line as well, who knows. But this interpretation of Pighead is pretty cool looking. Pighead is one of those characters that I think really elevated the line for collectors, like people who weren't sure what to make of Rulers of the Sun, but when they saw the Pighead character, they were like, hey, he's cool. Now, I did mention this in my review of the Pighead Origins action figure that I am a fan of the design. I think that it looks pretty awesome, right? Like just an insane pig human hybrid. It kind of reminds me of something like from a cover of a Green Jelly album. Green Jelly back in the 90s, Three Little Pigs. Yeah, it's like something crazy from that era. But the whole design actually, yeah, it does work for me. I like the weapons, especially. These appear to be much more scaled up than what we got with the Origins figures. Obviously, he does appear to have translucent weapons this time around. Like the mace weapon looks translucent, and there's this thing that's around his neck here. I'm not really sure what that is. Is it like a? It looks like a neck cushion, like a tentacled neck cushion that's also a glow stick. But overall, yeah, the whole design works for me. I mean, it's not something that I would consider an essential purchase, but if it was right there in front of me, like it's just right there on the packs, the thing's looking at me, I'm looking at it, the price is just right, I'll probably just pick it up. Okay, next up we've got the Guardian of the Secrets of Grayskull, the Sorceress. Now this is a classic, solidly traditional look for the Sorceress. All right, it's unmistakably her. You could just spot her like a mile away. It's not like somebody that does things that the Sorceress does, but you're not sure. Is it her? Could it be her? But yeah, this is definitely her. I'm disappointed to see that. Well, for this package, she doesn't appear to come with anything much more than what she came with for the Origins figure, just the staff, and also, well, she's got 2 extra hands. I don't know what she's going to do with that. But yeah, in fact, I'm not even sure what else you could throw into a Sorceress package. You could probably think of something though. But the figure itself, yeah, it's awesome. In fact, there was a lot of chatter that there was going to be a Masterverse scaled Castle Grayskull. Why not just put this figure, together with that? All right, if that's happening. As it is, this is an essential purchase for a lot of people, definitely, if you want a vintage representation of all the Masters of the Universe characters in Masterverse scale. But the Sorceress, honestly, yeah, I mean, we'll have to get her, definitely, but it's just that she's one of those characters that's just, you can't really do much with the character. It's not a dynamic action figure. It's just more of a statement piece. It's like you got Castle Grayskull, and then people will be like, but where's the Sorceress? Oh, there she is. Okay, you've got her there? She's there? Okay, good. Just leave her there. But it's not a figure that you could do like a lot of action poses with. You can't put her like, like Trinity in the Matrix, flying in mid-air, stuff like that. You can't do that. It's something just like Shadow Weaver, just standing there, holding up her hands, stuff like that, But yeah, I mean, I like, what they've done with the figure. I don't think Masterverse has really let me down so far when it comes to the majority of the facial sculpts, and the one that they have here for the Sorceress is really good. Next up, feel the cold, icy chill of Frosta. If you were going to ask her out, just be ready, because she might just turn you down cold. Frosta, yeah, she's an iconic Princess of the Power character. And I think that Masterverse is going really deep into both Princess of the Power and, like I said, the Evil Horde. They both intersect. I don't know how deep, probably we're going to get characters like Perfuma, the girl with the tentacles, all that stuff. I think that Classics was like really going deep into Princess of the Power. I think they practically covered almost every single character that was on the Classic show. And, for people, collectors that actually want a full Princess of the Power lineup, I think this is fantastic. I think the depiction of Frosta here is really nice, definitely. It's not for me because I'm just not a fan, okay? I'm not that deep of a fan of Princess of Power. I mean, it just goes back to the 80s. Yeah, that's when I grew up, and there was a line in the sand that was clearly drawn by the toy manufacturers, okay? They already said, He-Man was for boys, and She-Ra was for girls. Okay, there was a line in the sand. There was not a single boy I know that had a She-Ra action figure. Today, the male population makes up more than half of the toy buying public for She-Ra action figures. Okay, it's like you put up a She-Ra action figure, is like 90% of the males out there are just going to make it a sellout like instantly. But back in the day, no such thing. So I think that, She-Ra still definitely sells out. But Frosta is probably a figure for me that I think that is more for the hardcore faithful. These are figures that are probably, all I'm interested in, okay, honestly, like I said before many times in my videos, is just to get the representations of the vintage figures that were there in the original Masters of the Universe series. There are about 100 or so of those figures, okay? I want to see those figures. If you're going to put them up in Masterverse, fantastic, and I'll support it, okay? I want the spinning guy, okay, the spinning top guy. I keep talking about him, okay, Rota, Twistoid. I want those action figures. But I think that the inclusion of Frosta in this scale is fantastic, because there's a lot of people that could not complete the Princess of the Power line when Classics did it, because it's just so hard to get those figures, and it's fantastic that they have a chance to do it right now. And last on the list, we've got the man of many identities, Man E-Faces. Now, it's great to see many faces represented here in just his straight-up classic look. It's not a concept look, it's not a new Eternia deal, it's just his straight-up classic vintage 80s look. I don't have many faces from classics, I don't have many faces in that scale, so I'm pretty excited for this. Many faces is always one of those characters, from the 80s. You heard of the action figure, you heard about it being out there, that the figure can actually assume many different faces and stuff like that. You could just turn something and his face would change, and it was like, fuck, that was like awesome. Okay, the concept of it was just amazing. And when I thought about it, okay, when I actually got the figure many years later, yeah, I mean, the magic was still there. I probably thought it wasn't that great anymore, but then it's still fascinating. And this version of him is reinterpreted. I suppose he no longer has the dial on the top of his head that can turn for him to assume his many different identities. The identities appear to be represented here by being able to swap them as different face plates. As you can see here, there's like a briefcase looking thing, or like a stand where all his faces are placed. I wonder if the figure actually comes with this display holder, or is it just part of the display for this particular presentation? Does the actual action figure come with that display case? That'd be awesome. You can put all his faces there. I suppose it does. Anyway, there does appear to be one extra face there, something that looks like a Guy Fawkes mask, and that's interesting because that's the mask that the guy from V for Vendetta was wearing. All right, so it's cool. It's like something that I've never actually seen included with a Many Faces action figure. I think that one thing I was always wondering about is that it seems that Masterverse is going out of their way to not replicate any of the action features that were with the original figures. And I know there's some people that will say that, yeah, well, that's definitely what they're doing because that's what Classics did. But no, okay, Classics did compromise on a number of occasions. The Many Faces figure that came with Classics still had the gimmicky spinning dial where you could just, change his faces and stuff like that. So, but it looks when it comes to Masterverse is no go, all right? No features, no gimmicks ever. But I guess we kind of already expected that because the Masterverse Stinkor didn't stink. Fisto couldn't fist, but Scareglow did glow. Okay, so that's the video. I'm kind of disappointed that I couldn't go on rambling for about an hour or so because I thought that would be awesome to just load up like a 1 hour video and see, just who would stick around for that. Okay, but that's the video. Thanks for joining me as always. Catch you guys again real soon with more content.